Dr. Doreen Grampichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. Here we are. Welcome back to Ask Dr. Doreen. We have with us in the studio Dr. Doreen Grampichet, who has been sitting here very quietly. I'm going to show our folks over here.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi.
I'm doing this very wonky thing today.
You kind of just need a place to lean it. Maybe the pillow.
I almost have it. I have it now. There we go. Okay, we'll see how long that lasts before it topples off the desk. In any case, and I should turn it more so they can see you. I'll do that in a second. So we're here with Dr. Doreen Grampichet, and if you watch the show, everybody loves you. You're just so,
it's so much
I don't
fun.
think you know how many fans you have around the world,
No,
but you
no.
do. And Dr. Grampichet is a true expert in the field of autism. I believe the preeminent expert in the field of autism.
Thank you very much.
I used to say in our time, but as far as autism, there almost is no other time than this time. This is the time. And you've been working in this field now for 40 years. We can proudly say that.
Yes.
No one would know looking at your skin, but there's that.
Thank you.
And you've been working with individuals from very young babies up
All
through senior
ages.
citizens, which is an amazing thing. And one of the things that I really appreciate about Dr. Grampichet is that it's funny, I was talking to somebody earlier this week who was talking about how frustrated they had been when they started doing ABA because the people that they were working with didn't look at their child as a whole human being.
Yeah.
And so they weren't supportive of them doing all the things that they needed to do to help their child. And they said, "Didn't you find that frustrating?" And I said, "No, I was at CARD. I was at CARD, and at CARD, Dr. Grampichet sees our children and our young adults and our adults as whole human beings and understands that there are many things that they need, that, diet was discussed with us. It wasn't off limits. Nobody told us that we were cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs because we saw our child speaking more when he didn't have gluten. Right. That's not the case for all children. We always like to remind you that that is not the case for all children, but it certainly was for my child, and it was for many other children. And that was honored at CARD. We weren't told, stop that. We're doing ABA here and nothing else. So I appreciate you that you treat the whole child, the whole family. You look at the whole community at our needs. And I love how I have seen for many years now how you see into the future about what's coming and what we need, and you're always looking out for us. So I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you kidding me? That's helpful to all of us. Okay, so we also want to start the show by saying that we've had some pretty horrific things happening in Southern California, right?
Unbelievable.
And from the horrible, horrible shooting that happened in Thousand Oaks, there were actual CARD therapists that were at that location when that happened.
That's right.
One who was injured, but is okay.
Yeah, right. One of our therapists, I guess, was lucky enough to get out of like a back window that had been broken for people to exit from, but he got cut on the way out. And then from what I heard, a couple of other therapists went and took him to the hospital.
Amazing.
But I want to connect with our staff. It's just that right after the shooting, I mean, literally, I think a day after the shooting, the fires started up in that area, and now we have so much chaos and panic going on in that area. We can't even get into Thousand Oaks to try to assist our staff or the families, or to try to figure out how we can help them in any way. So it's been a very difficult time for the entire Ventura County region.
Yes. And there are a lot of people who are still evacuated. They don't even know if their homes are left standing.
That's right.
And if you can imagine what it's like for those of us that are in the autism community, and if you have a child in treatment, when you have to take your child who's on the spectrum out of your home with 15 minutes notice.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
And literally there were people who had 15 minutes notice that needed to get out, and you don't know if you're ever going to be able to come home again, and how you explain that to a child, and then you're separated from your services. It's been a really difficult time, but CARD has been amazing, how you've supported the area and how
we're trying to help.
One of the things that I love about CARD, because it's so many offices, that it's a family. And
yes, absolutely.
This is not the first natural disaster that, a couple of years ago when Baton Rouge was underwater.
That's right.
And we saw all of our offices come together, and they were sending clothing to therapists so that therapists would have something to wear. And they would send us lists of families and clients and say, you know, mom wears a size 10 jean
Yeah.
and she has 3 children
That's
and they are
right.
these sizes, and we donated. That card comes together.
That's right.
And we will come together for these communities and for our card family and our card communities.
And I think as soon as we're able to actually have access to those regions, we'll start sending in like toys and
Yes.
clothing and so on for all the families.
I know people have already been gathering like hotel sample supplies because, you know, the first thing that you don't have are things that you need every day, like the shampoo and the toothpaste and
yeah.
all of that. So I just wanted to say, if you're watching and you're one of those displaced people, please know that everybody's thinking about you, and we're hoping that we want to thank the firefighters and the first responders who have done amazing things. Nancy, who's going to be here in a little while, will share with us because she's been in the evacuation zone.
Yes.
She actually hasn't had to evacuate, but the impact that it has. Friday
Absolutely.
was Wyatt's 17th birthday.
Oh my gosh.
And he had plans, you know, as a 17-year-old would for their birthday, and he had a birthday party on Saturday. All of that's been postponed because all of the freeways were closed. Nobody could get anywhere. At one point, Nancy, she'll share with you, but at one point she took him to a movie for his birthday because school was canceled. School was canceled through Thanksgiving, and then getting home was almost impossible.
Right.
So because
I don't know
the
if you
freeways.
know that Hank and Dennis and Sarah and John are all evacuated.
Isn't that? It's
They've
so
all moved.
so
Dennis
frightening.
just got back, but Hank and Sarah are still not at home.
Well, and do you realize the camp where we went for 2 years?
It's completely destroyed.
that
I know.
for our retreats was completely destroyed. They say they're going to rebuild by the summer, but all the cabins that everybody stayed in, everything, this most gorgeous camp that we stayed at, and had amazing times where CARD came together, gone, devastated. It's a really frightening time. But having said all that, we trudge on. It is the month where we give the most thanks, so we're grateful for what we still have, and even though there has been a loss of life, we're grateful that it hasn't been more.
Right.
Grateful for so many people who have stepped up and taken water and food to our firefighters and made room for animals. We've seen that so many people have taken the horses and the potbelly pigs and the goats that have needed to be rescued, along with the cats and the dogs. It's been a really interesting time to see people rise.
Absolutely.
And to see how people respond. All right, having said all that, it's time to get to some questions because we always trudge on. So this was a question that came in that I promised that we would get to this morning. Question for Dr. Doreen. My almost 6-year-old with ASD is in a mainstream kindergarten class with a one-on-one aide. At our 60 review, I think our 60-day review, I discovered that he is not transitioning well from preferred activity to non-preferred activities. He's high functioning, very verbal, but is obviously not conforming with schedules. It's taking 5 or 6 prompts to get him to the next task. This is happening all day at school. He doesn't do it with his BCBA or speech and OT, so obviously he knows how to transition. How do we extinguish that behavior at school? And do we work on one transition at a time or all at once?
That's a really good question, and it's just from the language used, I think that it's clear that this family has some ABA training and familiarity. It's pretty obvious. So there's not a behavior here that you're trying to extinguish. There's a behavior that you're trying to increase. So, and as we all know, what do we do when we want to try to increase a behavior?
Reinforce.
Reinforce. So clearly he is not reinforced for transitioning. And as you said yourself, he's going from a preferred activity to a less preferred activity, which basically means that he is not getting enough reinforcers for going to the non-preferred activity. So you now have to put in some sort of reinforcement, and it might not be a natural reinforcer, like it's not built into the activity, but nevertheless, you can do a multitude of things. If he engages in a non-preferred activity for a short period of time, someone in school has to give him, let's say, a smiley or some sort of token that will then accumulate into multiple tokens, and then he will be able to trade that for some sort of thing that he wants. So you essentially need to just put in some sort of reinforcer, and it's not going to be a natural reinforcer, it's going to be something that he wants. And then you just need to make sure that he's getting it for completing the non-preferred activity. Initially, you'll give him the reinforcers for maybe 10 minutes of a non-preferred activity, and then gradually you'll make it 15 minutes, 20 minutes, etc. And then you'll give him the reinforcer at the end of the non-preferred activity. Okay. It's really that simple.
And something that's infinitely doable, but
very much so. I mean, if you think about it, we have this in our daily lives, right? So we go a certain number of hours and then we take a 10-minute break, right? We know that most human beings can keep going for 5-6 hours and then have lunch. But nevertheless, we have come to the conclusion that people are more productive when they get a 10 or 15-minute break after 2 or 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
And that is a reinforcer. That's a reinforcer that we've placed in between a 4-hour sessions or work hours. So just think about that. Otherwise, I mean, we could also, like some of us, for me, for instance, I will generally work all day and then I'll stop at around 4 or so, maybe 4:35, and then I'll go home and I'll spend a couple of hours doing things with my kids, and then I'll start up again. And that is sort of because I need that hour or 2 hours of spending time with my family. It's a reinforcer. It's not just that I need the rest, because I'm not really getting rest. It's just that I need a reinforcer. So we as adults learn to build those types of things in. And you know, Shannon, when we don't get enough of the reinforcers in our environment, we don't have a meltdown or something, but what do? We find other reinforcers, which are not always the best, right? We might eat more, we might, I don't know, do other things, go shopping or whatever, things that are not necessarily the healthiest, but nevertheless, we reinforce ourselves to keep going.
Yeah, it may be antithetical to what we want to actually accomplish. So
absolutely, because it's a short-term reinforcer as opposed to a long-term.
Yeah, we all want to be healthy, but
we just need
smoke
something
or
right then,
eat or sit and play a video game instead of exercising. All those things, because we need that immediate sort of reinforcer. I find that sometimes at school, teachers will, because teachers hop around different grades.
Yes.
And sometimes they forget for a moment what is feasible for a little body.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you think about it, the first thing that struck me is here is this small child who we're asking him to go from something that's really preferred to something that's not preferred.
Right.
And he's like, you didn't make it worth my while.
Right. Exactly, exactly.
Like, I don't think so. And if you think about it, that's really intelligent.
Right.
And why would he want to go do the other thing?
Right.
It makes sense. I'm always frustrated now. I didn't used to be, because it used to be I would be like, I don't understand why my son is doing whatever. But now that I'm looking at through a different lens and going, no, that has a reason, and I can see the reasons. I hate it when people go, oh, well, that's just random, or that's just autism, or whatever. No, it makes perfect sense. Why would you want to go from a preferred activity to a non-preferred activity if there isn't something that's reinforcing about it?
That's right. And so a lot of people say, well, then how come all the other kids do?
Right.
Right? And you have to think about that, actually, and let's talk about that for a minute. Why do the other kids do it? Well, the other kids have a lot of other aversives they are trying to avoid, which our kids are not necessarily, they don't care much about. So for instance, an aversive that most kids try to avoid is embarrassment. Embarrassment is something that pretty much everyone tries to avoid. And a child not going along with all the other kids will usually stand out, and then will usually experience embarrassment in front of their friends. And where does that come from? That comes from them being able to think from the perspective of the other friends and realize that, oh, other friends are thinking, why is that kid standing out, right? Our kids very often have a problem or a delay or a disability in being able to see someone else's perspective to begin with. So a lot of times our kids don't experience that level of embarrassment, which is why they do their own thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really as simple as if you really think it through, typically developing kids have that thing. One is avoidance of embarrassment. Another one is they really want to like please the teacher.
Yeah.
They want to please their parents, et cetera, et cetera. And all of this has to do with perspective taking.
Yeah.
And our kids are often just kind of trying to do their best to get by, and like they're not really fully aware of everyone else's emotions and everyone else's judgments about what they're doing. And so that's why they don't care about that. It's not an aversive to them, and it's also not a motivator in some cases.
Yeah, I also wonder, because there's the whole social aspect of being a lemming.
Yes.
When one person goes and gets in line, and then two people go and get in line, and then the other kids go and get in line because it's socially, they want to be where the other kids are.
They want to be part of the group.
Right. And something, when you get people together, something social is going to happen. Whereas our kids are not plugged into that, especially in the early years. They're more into
They're more afraid of that, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, a lot of our kids avoid the social situation because it evokes anxiety in them. They don't know how to interact with other kids. Sometimes the noise level, the chaos level is intimidating to them. So, it's a reverse dynamic where something that would normally perhaps be socially interesting or motivating or reinforcing is actually aversive.
So the whole key to this is that we make it more reinforcing. We put something with it and make it more reinforcing, and then we can make it happen.
And as you said that, so that's the initial, that's why I said it's sort of an artificial reinforcer at this point. But if you think about it, as time goes by, as our kids learn to socialize and they learn to interact with other kids, and they want to establish friendships and maintain friendships, that becomes more reinforcing. And then, like you said, they want to fit in, so they follow through.
I remember the very first time I saw that in Jem.
Yeah.
He had spent that year at home with Card.
Right.
Then he went to, they had like a preschool program. It was called Fun with Fours. And he was going half day to that and not going every day of the week. And then we extended it, so he was going the full time with the other kids with a Card aid. And then we got to January, and he got some sort of a flu bug. In fact, a lot of the kids got it, but he was out for maybe a week and a half. And I remember the day we brought him back, and all of the kids were like, "Jem, you're back!" And they were hugging him, and I saw this look on his face, and he was so excited.
Yeah.
And they had greeted him, and everything changed after that. He was interested in going to school just to be around them, whereas before, that wasn't the thing. There were other things at school maybe that were reinforcing, but I saw, he was like, "Oh, they like me. They missed me. I'm glad to be back.
Friends, yeah.
I have friends." And it was a precious little thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we should take a break. We're going to stay live just for this break on Facebook, but then we're going to shut Facebook down. So you should be migrating over to YouTube, and I'll give you a reason why. Because we're going to play on YouTube now the premiere of one of our videos that we made for the Toy and Gift Guide that features myself and Charlie, which Charlie is, can we reveal who Charlie is?
Of course. I'm so proud of her.
She is your youngest daughter.
That's right.
And she has been being an intern here with us at Autism Live for a couple of weeks, and she is spectacular.
Discovered she's a natural on camera.
She's a natural at everything. She is. I have come to the conclusion now that I have met and in some way worked with all three of your children that you raise fantastic human beings.
This
is another thing that we can add to the things that we love about you.
Thank you very much.
But Charlie is her own special light. You'll see. So she and I went to the Miracle Mile toy store, and so this is just one of the 3 videos that we made. It's the beginning one featuring some of the toys for babies and young children. It's only playing on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, you're not going to see it. So I want to encourage you to go to youtube.com/autismlive, and then you can watch the whole show from there, because we're going to be shutting this down after I address some of the comments on Facebook. So check it out. Here is the beginning of the toy guide. I'm Shannon from Autism Live. Come on in. Hi, Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod.
And I'm Charlie Denocker.
And we're here
at the Miracle Mile Toy Haul.
We're celebrating the 2018 Autism-live Toy and Gift Guide. So we're going to look at some of the cool things that are featured in the guide.
Let's begin.
Yeah. Charlie, let's talk about babies first.
Okay.
I love babies, and babies need things to activate all of their senses, right?
Yeah.
So I love this toy. This is from Infantino. It's an award winner. Balls, Blocks, and Buddies. It sounds simple, but there's so many things that you can do. This is just one of the little buddies. How cute is he?
Yeah.
You can stack the blocks. All of the toys have different colors and different textures to them, and the little buddies can be little buddies. You can make voices for them and do all kinds of fun things. Now, as a child grows, if you want to get a little fancier, I got something even fancier here for you. The Crystal Carnival. This is same sort of principle, stacking toys and shaped toys of all different sizes and colors, but a different, modern take on it. They can even teeth on these. These are all safe to be bitten. Absolutely love this toy, the Crystal Carnival.
Next up, we have my favorite toy. These are the Googly Balls by Imperial. They are great sensory toys, and honestly, you just cannot stop touching them. They're so much fun to play with.
It's addictive.
They're amazing. And they're great colors, really fun.
Super fabulous. You know what else Imperial makes? They make bubbles. I love Imperial bubbles. In fact, it's one of the best toys that's out there for a child in therapy. The truth is any child loves bubbles. They're really reinforcing their cause and effect. You blow, you can get them to speak using bubbles. And if you really want to reward a good child this holiday season, and I've turned it on already, but it's not going to spit bubbles. This is one of the most fabulous things that there is. Endless bubbles. You don't have to keep blowing. This is great for a party. Great for reinforcing 30 seconds. You turn it on and it'll shower them in bubbles. If you want the joy to start, Imperial Bubbles, get a bubble blower. It's fabulous. So Charlie, have you ever played with Legos?
Of course.
They're one of the most fabulous toys that are out there, right? And it's never too early to start with Legos because they make Duplos. And I love this particular Duplo set because it's got the pet friends. So you can put it together in all different ways. I mean, you could put the cat head on the dog body. It's very fun. But there are colors that match. Absolutely love this set because of all the different things that you can do. And we're learning about faces, and that's really important with autism too. Great starter set for any child. I love good sensory toys, and Sensi's makes a whole line of really super sensory toys. And they make them in different shapes and sizes and different feels. This is a soccer ball that vibrates, that you can hold, you can sit on it. It gives you that sensory input. What have you got?
This is a jellyfish, and it's for smaller aches and pains. It's really fun, and it's fuzzy and very nice.
I can imagine a kid would love to have this.
Yeah.
Really super fun. So this whole time, Charlie and I have been wearing these great shoe necklaces from ARC. They come in all different sizes. Some look like Lego bricks, but ours are very special because they say, best friend. Thank you so much for being with us today at the Miracle Mile Toy Haul. If you want to get any of the toys that we featured, you can visit your local Astra toy store.
Or you can find more information at www.autism-live.com.
That's where our toy guide is, and there's a link to every single toy where you can buy it right from our website. Isn't that cool? Thanks. Happy holidays, everybody. Welcome back. A little bit of a asterisk there because it's only on our beta site right now. So if you want to check out the toy and gift guide, you need to go to http://beta. It's there on the screen, autism-live.com, and there's an icon at the top that says toy guide. We really need more people testing out the site so that we see that it works before we push it totally live. The old site will still be available when we push this one live, but we need more people. So please, if you would do me a favor and go over and check out our new website, click around, go on the toy guide, look around. The really cool thing that we did last year, because you guys asked us, is that you said, well, I saw these great gifts, but now I have to go look for them on the internet, and I had a hard time finding them. So we made sure it's interactive this time. So at the bottom of each toy, there's a picture of the toy and a little description of the toy and why we think it's great for a person in the autism community. But there is a button that when you push it, it goes directly to a place where you can buy the toy, like right where you can buy the toy. Sometimes it's Amazon, sometimes it's other places, but you can buy it right there. We don't get any money from that at all. We just did that because you guys said it would be easier for you to be able to purchase it. So check it out. Tell me if it works, okay? But we're here right now with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh, and she's answering your questions. And I want to move on to this next question. Hello, ladies. Love to watch you guys every week. We have a 14-year-old with autism. He's smart, verbal, but struggles with routine, social interaction, awareness, daily living skills. Very repetitive behaviors, etc. We're having problems at school, academics, but also with his social behaviors. I just met with his teachers, and they all complained that they feel he somehow had a setback, especially on his social behaviors. They called it a regression, and that's causing a lot of problems. We are working so hard with him, changing rewards, behavior plans, social groups, and nothing seems to improve it, but it gets worse as he gets older. No ABA therapist, just a regular therapist. They're in New York, and they only cover 1 hour a week. It seems that everything we work on, we either get stuck or never move on to the next phase to eliminate or improve a behavior. I feel bad since I see his struggles, and I'm also worried to see what's the outcome on his future. What are we doing wrong? Any advice? And thanks. Shall we open up that can of worms?
Yeah, we have to.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's too much going on here. There's a lot going on here, right? You have a smart 14-year-old, which basically means his hormones are also changing right now. So some of the issues that you might be experiencing have to do with an increase in testosterone. It's not necessarily going to be the future, but it is definitely the current time, and it is something that you need to deal with. There are so many different things that are going on. You mentioned that he's struggling with routines. With social interaction, there's a lot of comments about social behavior and it regressing, and I'm not sure what that means. That could mean that he is not interacting with kids the way he used to, or it could mean that he's actually aggressive towards other kids. I just don't know. His awareness, his daily living skills, he's repetitive. I mean, you have a lot going on. You have all of the symptoms you've just listed here, and you're not getting any ABA. And so, you know, to be very frank, the only thing that you need to change here is that you need to get ABA therapy for him. And you need to get it pretty, you know, as many hours as you can. At this point, given that he's 14, I think the best you're going to be able to do is to get him a 20-hour-a-week program, which is quite a lot, but it would cover his afternoons, evenings, and weekends. Now, in New York, if you have health insurance, not Medicaid, because New York has not rolled that out yet, but in New York, if you have health insurance, the vast majority of the commercial plans do cover ABA. So that's where I would start. I would look at my health policy and find out if they cover ABA. If they do, you need to get in touch with an ABA provider. We are in New York. There are others who are in New York as well. But oddly, Shannon, a lot of people in the state of New York don't use their insurance yet. They are still using school services or school funding, which I'll talk about as a second option. But if you have insurance, just any kind of regular medical insurance, you should really try to access that for getting 20 hours a week of ABA. And a behavior analyst, the BCBA, will be in charge of the program, and they will really help you figure out each of these behaviors and put a plan in place. And there will be therapists, behavior therapists, who will work with him every day after school, even in school perhaps, on the weekends, and start putting together a program that makes sense for him. Now, if you don't have coverage, the alternative is to go to your school district and to request services through your school district. You must be a little pushy on that because they're not initially going to, clearly no one's offered it to you, but you need to push for it. And let me tell you, there are tons and tons of kids who are getting services through their school districts, fully funded. And what that means is that they're not just during school hours, but the school actually pays for an ABA agency to come into your home and to work with your child and to assist with all of these behaviors. These are too many behaviors for me to be able to give you advice in this format, because what has to happen is they all have to kind of be divided, and we have to figure out what the function is, why is he doing these behaviors, what are his reinforcers, how do we change his routine, how do we prompt him more, how do we reward him more, etc. And then it all falls into place. But if he's high functioning, this is going to be a lovely experience for him, so please get that going.
I'm always frustrated when a lot of times people will tell someone who has a 14-year-old and who's high functioning in some areas, if they speak, oh, ABA is not for you. You know, your child is too high functioning, your child speaks, ABA is not for you. That's not true.
Right.
ABA would be great for this kiddo. And I know when a parent, especially in New York, when I talk to parents in New York and you talk about 20 to 40 hours, people lose their minds because they're used to getting this 1 hour of speech, this 1 hour of a talk therapist, 1 hour of OT. And so when you start talking 20 hours, people's heads spin. But take a good look at me. I joined a gym and I went and I swam the other day and I'm not cut yet. And I can't understand it. And I swam and I swam for like 30 minutes. Why am I not physically fit yet? Right? This, you know, and my mind really, I'm intelligent and I get it, but you know, I expected to be thin the next day. I really did. And with anything where we're trying to change a behavior or change anything that's happening, you have to put the work in.
Yes.
And you know, he has been doing this for 14 years and it's grown and grown and grown, and he has gotten used to, I do this, you do this, and I get what I want.
Right.
And it's not pretty, and it's not working for you, and it's not really even working for him anymore.
Right.
And it's certainly not working for the school. And the older he gets, the more frustrated he's going to get. He's a bigger person, and he sees other people getting what they need.
Right.
So, you know, I feel for you because this is a very frightening time. But if you do what Dr. Grant-Fichet said and do a 20-hour program, if I were to go to the gym 20 hours this week, you would see a difference in how I look to you next week.
Right.
Not the be all end all. I would not sit here and be a model, but you would see a difference in me if I went 20 hours this week. And if I went 20 hours next week, by the summer, I would look vastly different. And that's just a fact.
That is.
And so, you know, I just don't want people to be afraid when you hear 20 hours, because I know I was. When they said 40 hours to me, I was like, you're out of your mind.
I know, it seems to be, but then think about the number of hours we place our children in school, right? It's 30 hours.
Yeah.
It's 30 hours a week. And if you just think about the rest of the time and what our kids could actually learn from it, and often we'll have tutoring for our kids because, but that doesn't, you know, it's not, no parent will ever say, it's funny because sometimes I'll have parents coming to me and they're very, very stressed initially about like the child is failing at math, right? And I'm like, really, like, let's sit down for a minute and talk about this. Is it more important for him to get math or to speak?
Yeah.
Which one would you, if you had to choose, what would you choose realistically? And no parent ever thinks that math is going to be more important than speaking.
Yeah.
So, or communicating, you know, in some way. So why do we not actually put that level of effort into these other skills? Because they typically just develop on their own. And we don't have to put the effort in. But in our case, with our kids, we do have to put a little bit of effort in. And I know it sounds like a lot, but it's not even as much as we do in school.
But it's a different way of thinking. It's a different way of looking at things.
It is, definitely.
It really is. And you got to shift your mind to it. But these are the people that I love and want to spend time with are people who, once they get it and see the picture, they go, okay, then that's what we're going to do.
Absolutely.
And I feel for you, because all these things that you talk about, well, you know, we try and then we never get, and we get stuck and we never get there.
Yes.
And I just want to throw it out to you that it's because there's not enough. It's me at the gym.
And
it's
there's
me
too
with
many
the swimming
things.
pool.
Right.
So, you know, give it 20 hours and give it 6 months of 20 hours, and then come back and tell me that you're still stuck, because I don't believe that if you're with the right ABA provider, that wouldn't happen.
Absolutely, I totally agree. There's no way you'll be in the same boat if you put this effort in. So right now, I think what you need is a little bit of hand holding in order to just get the funding and a program started. So if you can, you know, right now we're in the middle of November, if you can set your mind on, you know, in the next month and a half or 2 months, I will get a program started, or I'll just get the funding for it at least, and get my assessments done.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, you've accomplished a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So do me a favor and write to me if you need any help or support in getting that done, or where to start or what to do. Of course, I'm always going to recommend to you to go with CARD, because that's the provider that I had. And you can check CARD's website out today. Gabriel, do we have the 800 number that you can throw up on the screen there? That's my email that you just saw, and there's the 800 number. You can call into CARD today and say, I'm in New York. One of the wonderful things is that you can tell CARD who your insurance provider is, and they'll do the legwork for you and find out if you've got coverage. Because a lot of times, I know we get on the phone with our insurance company and it's the 7th ring of hell trying to get somebody on the phone who can give you an answer, yes or no, whereas these folks know what to do and call, and they'll call for you and let you know, yep, you have coverage for this, or nope, you don't. And then there are other alternatives, but you can always write to me to help you to figure that out, because we're all in this together. Si se puede, right? Okay, we're going to take another break, and then we're going to be back more with Ask Dr. Doreen after these messages. Stick with us. Welcome back to Autism Live. You know what it reminded me when you were talking? I didn't give the disclaimer. We had so many things going on with the Facebook. I didn't say that, you know, in this format, that even with the kind of caliber of expert that we have in Dr. Graham Pichet, there is no one who can give individual specific advice.
Right,
so we're
right.
giving information, she's giving information that is of a general nature to help
Right.
you to know what questions to ask the people who actually have eyes on whoever the individual is. It would be disrespectful to imply
Absolutely.
anything else. So I want to continue on with some questions here. I am having trouble. I apologize to the 2 people who wrote in specific things on Facebook. I'm having trouble accessing your comments, but I will be able to see them after the show, and I will make sure that we get back to you. So who is the best professional to diagnose or present a prognosis for a child with autism between the ages, with the age of 4.8 years old?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that diagnosis is pretty easy for someone who has expertise in autism. It would be either a licensed psychologist or a psychiatrist or a developmental pediatrician. Those are your 3 choices. Now, that's a very different thing than prognosis. Prognosis, you really would want someone who has been seeing and working with individuals in the field for a long time. And so that's a little bit harder, because most of the medical professionals, so let's say pediatricians or psychiatrists, will not really have a lot to do with the future because they don't do treatment. The treatment of autism is usually done by a behavior analyst, and a behavior analyst is not someone who diagnoses. So it's a little bit hard. Your ideal individual is someone who's a psychologist and a behavior analyst, and then that person can talk to you more about both the diagnosis and the treatment and how the treatment can change the child. There are more and more of those people. I'm one of those people. I would love to be able to help you. I don't know where you are. I have a pretty long wait list, but you know, if you can't find someone else, then I'm happy to help you. Also, if someone is diagnosing, they need to be licensed in the state where you live, unless you come to where they are, obviously, and then they can diagnose you there.
Well, that's going to lead me into a question that I have on the next page for you.
Sure.
Hello, Shannon and Dr. Doreen. I want to know if Dr. Doreen does conference calls via camera, and if she does, how can I make an appointment, and does insurance pay for it? I feel like it would help us so much with our son if we could talk in live camera. We have so many issues. It's hard to write the question, though, here. Just want some help with my son's treatment. I'm stuck and lost. Thanks in advance, please, and God bless you guys.
Yes. I mean, I generally am pretty booked, so it's a little bit hard to get on my calendar, but once you're on my calendar, I do some of these types of live events. The coverage of it depends on your insurance company. Some insurance companies allow telemedicine, others don't. You can call your insurance company and find out, or look online and they can tell you. And if you would like for me to help evaluate your child, then I'm happy to do that. It's a kind of a process, because I won't just get on a camera, on a live camera thing and just like give you my opinion that way. I would want to see some assessments. So, you know, and some of that stuff I can send you and you can fill it out, and that helps me identify strengths and weaknesses. And sometimes it's a little bit harder, some of but you know, I'll work with you and figure out what you are able to do. I'm also licensed in a whole ton of states, so I do have the ability to send out my psychometrician, and then she does testing while I'm observing online. So that happens as well. So we do all kinds of stuff, but you know, it's a little bit difficult, and I hate to tell people to come see me because they have to wait so long, you know, and that like 2, 3, 4 months sometimes. Like if I was to book somebody like right now, it would probably be in March or April, and that's just too long, and I don't want anybody to waste their time.
So
It's very hard. The best people, I think, for you know, for past the diagnosis. I mean, the diagnosis is easy. I could diagnose in this manner, and that's fast and quick. Right. Okay. Past the diagnosis, getting a treatment plan or getting an idea, I would really encourage you to try to find an experienced BCBA. You don't need a psychologist to help you with the treatment plan. If you find and there's many, many more BCBAs in the world than psychologists working in the field of autism. Yeah. So, you know, you find a BCBA and they can help you with the treatment plan. And that's, Shannon, exactly why we made Skills. Because I was so concerned that there are so many families out there who don't know what the future holds. Yeah. And so Skills is your way of identifying a treatment plan and a prognosis for your own child. It's a little bit, initially it requires a lot of work because you have to get out there and you have to answer thousands of questions about your child. But you know what? You do it once and you have this amazing kind of roadmap of what needs to be taught to your child. And it gives you a really good picture of the whole thing. So I really encourage parents to use Skills.
Which I think is a wonderful, wonderful suggestion. I also want to say that, you know, of course, I'm a huge fan of Dr. Grampuchet, and I can understand why when you're watching the show you want to have her, you want to talk to her. I totally get that.
Right.
But I also want to let you know that my child was treated at CARD,
That's right.
and he was here for 4.5 years, and I never met her.
Right.
And let me just tell you, because I think that being able to teach is a huge gift in the world. Being able to do something is fabulous, but when you can teach it, you're handing it down to other generations. And one of the things that Dr. Grampuchet has done that is absolutely incredible is that she has handed down what she knows, and she's kept people close to the mothership so that it continues to be handed down. It's like a big fountain, and it spills down over the different edges of it so that everybody gets to have some portion of it, and they move up the fountain and get stronger at it. So there are amazing people at CARD that know what she knows. I even, to the point where I had the opportunity to meet you, and I was like, why do I need to meet her? I mean, I know she started CARD, and I'm deeply grateful that she started CARD. But you know, I didn't have any connection, I felt, to her, but you really did. I didn't realize how much you were a part of my case when behind the scenes that I didn't know. So I just want to tell you that there are other amazing people who can be life-changing to you that work at CARD. So just keep that in mind too. I would check out CARD. You can go to centerforautism.com. We're almost out of time, but I want to squeeze this one last question in. They said, hello, Shannon. I want to create a task analysis for the use of knife and fork to teach my son. I'm not sure what step to start. Can you please give me advice, and thank you.
And that's an easy one. Just go to skills, and I would look under the adaptive curriculum, and you'll find that.
It's already there for you. And you can do a 14-day free trial on Skills. You can go to skillsforautism.com and you do a 14-day trial. You do have to give your credit card information, and you have to cancel by the 15th day in order for it to be free, but you have 14 days to try it, see what you like. I'm the biggest fan that there is of Skills. I just the other day, you know how Facebook gives you memories, and the memory came up of the first time that I got to see Skills, and how it was such a big deal to me. I shook for hours. I was so excited about it, I couldn't stand it. So it's a wonderful thing. Check it out. We're out of time, and we are not here next week because of Thanksgiving. So I just wanted to say, I don't want to cry, but one of the things that I'm most thankful for in this world is for you.
Thank you so much. And I feel the same. I have to say, like, I was off camera, I was just telling you that we have to spend more time together. And I want to thank you, Shannon, because not only have you been a big reward for me in my life, but also for all of my kids, which is amazing. And I really appreciate that. And it's a joy working with you every single day.
Well, it's a joy to be here with you. I have said for many years after I saw Skills, it was after I saw Skills, and I went, oh, she's the real deal, and I would follow you into a burning building. I would know you were going in for a good reason. What
a great gift when you said that to me. Honestly, just having your friendship is amazing for me.
Anyway, I hope that...
And thank you to our viewers for allowing us to keep doing these shows, because it's nice for us to have a connection to you and to hear your messages and learn from you as well and share everything.
It is a fabulous privilege. It is a fabulous privilege to be here with all of you with Dr. Grant-Pichet. So we're all going to take a moment of thanks as we go to a commercial, and then we're going to be back with Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. Stick with us.